Hey guys, today I'm out with a friend of mine who has bought, well, he's had a Jaguar F Type Supercharged. So I asked him if I could do some filming with him and he kindly accepted. You might be interested in seeing what Supercharged F Type Jaguars are like. It's actually a very beautiful car. I never really, looked at them in that way before. I thought they were very smart and very beautiful. That is legal on the streets of London. It's a bit ridiculous. That should be illegal. A friend of mine, Richard. Hello, Richard. Has kindly come along to play with cars.
Good morning. Welcome to Bermondsey Street and Bermondsey Square. Another beautiful day and amazing for February. That looks so cool. I love it. That is absolutely amazing. That beautiful camera. And of course, they would invent a camera where you don't need to take a bloody lens cap on and off. It actually folds in. It's just brilliant.
Yes. Very quick. Now that puts a smile on your face.
It does, doesn't it? It's my toy.
It's amazing.
The new one's obviously a four-wheel drive, which must be absolutely amazing because obviously the challenge of getting, it's the best part of 500 brake horsepower through the rear wheels and keeping it going is quite tough, and it's horrible in rain and snow, anything like that. So it's very, very difficult to drive. But every other time, it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's beautiful to drive. It's fun. Job done. Is that better? No, much better.
Yeah. So you were telling me about your cars and your previous cars and what you like and dislike in them.
Yes, I think if I look back over the years, owning a car for me was freedom, so that was always fantastic. So I always wanted to have a car, have one, pass my test 6 weeks after my 17th birthday, had access to cars, and then bought cars. So I had a few. But for my 50th, my dream was always to have an Aston Martin. And I walked into the dealership in Swindon, actually, bizarrely, and they'd swapped for a Ferrari, a V8 Vantage, and it was beautiful, and I took it for a test drive and bought it there and then. And stunning car. Not particularly quick, although it does sound great and everybody goes, oh, it's an Aston and it's got a great V8. It's very heavy, and many cars with better engines can outperform it. So I had that for a while. I mistakenly thought it would be cool to buy an AMG SLK 55. That was that was fantastic for the engine noise only. It simply could not handle the engine, and you could never get the power down. It was, if you just put your foot down to try and accelerate, it lost it. The back went. It was too light, and the aerodynamics were awful. So it was nice from a kind of noise, and it looked okay point of view. And of course, as with Mercedes, all the gizmos on it, and I had one of those early oh gosh, what do they call it when it's speed control, but it was auto speed control, so it looked at the car in front, and early days of the radar speed control, and that was a long time ago. Very clever stuff. Did that, and then I sold that, and then I was looking for what was I going to get next. Had a break from cars, actually thinking, I'll just do some hiring of things. Realised that was a terrible mistake, and I walked into the same garage where I bought my Aston and said, what's here and what's interesting? And they said, well, we've just taken in the V8 Jag that's done 5,000 miles. It's kind of unused, and I drove it and again said, yes, I'll have it. And I think it's probably the only car that I've owned where within 2 years I'm not thinking, what am I going to have next? Wandering around car dealerships, and constantly thinking about the next one. This has, I always said to people, it's like having two cars. You could put it into just normal drive, no noise, no nothing, and you've got an absolutely beautiful Jag V8, smooth as smooth, and ticks over 70 miles an hour. We're doing 60 now at just over 1,000 revs, but in normal drive, it's just about 1,000 revs at 70. Extremely quiet, even for a convertible. And then, of course, you've then got various buttons and toys and sports mode, and you open up the baffles in the exhaust pipe, and you then get what I hope you've heard, a really superb engine note. And I think one thing Jaguar has led the way on is making engine noise a feature of their car, and I think the F Type was the first car really to do that, and they've now put these noisy exhaust baffly things on even their most basic of cars, and even the F Type, the 3-litre one in the middle of the range, has a superb engine sound. Obviously I'm biased and say that it's still not the same as having the V8, but even that's beautiful. So it's a great car. It's reasonably economical. If you don't drive it like a lunatic, I can get 25 easily, which is pretty good given the car. I mean, if you drive it like a lunatic, that will drop to 15 very, very quickly. But typically on a run, I'm in the low to mid 20s, and I don't drive like my grandmother. So a great car.
And I have to be honest, I can't really tell it's a convertible, so it's so quiet. What about the practicality element of this in terms of what's the boot space like? Can you do long journeys? Because it's kind of a GT car.
I think the thing they've utterly failed on with this car is any sort of storage space at all. For example, the AMG SLK had a really super boot. It had a massive amount of room. My Porsche Boxster had room in the front and the back, would take a reasonable suitcase. This is hopeless. So this is a great car for single people who don't want to take piles of clothes every time they go away anywhere, or DHL their clothes in advance because you can't get it in the car. It has some cubby holes and things, but very few. They haven't made a lot of use of any spare space, so there really isn't a lot. So it is really a weekend. I use it all the time. It is my only car, but it is a weekender, and if you need to take loads of clothes and lots of things and camera gear and all that sort of stuff, this is not the car.
We're going left.
This is not the car. It's a car that you just need to recognise that. I've learned how to pack better than ever. I've learned how not to take my wardrobe with me everywhere I go, which frustrated me for a bit, but I've learned. And you can always buy clothes.
And in terms of the boot, is there any boot space, or is it just for the roof?
No, the roof doesn't actually go into the boot, which is also why the boot is so small. Okay. So, and it also has once it's folded, it's a very neat, very clean fold. One of the most attractive cars, I think, with an up and down roof.
Yeah.
So they've concentrated on the aesthetics, which I think they've done well. But therefore, what you're left with is a bit of an odd-shaped 2-level black hole But for me, again, if you use soft bags, squash it all in, for me, it's been okay. But I think people would find it frustrating. I think it's probably the.
So can you take it to the south of France with enough stuff to spend a week there? Perhaps?
Absolutely, I can. But I think if you were two people with a week's holiday, you'd struggle. But what are you going to wear in the south of France in nice weather? A few pairs of Speedos. So they don't take up a lot of room. That's all you need to take. But if you want to take something to change and dress up in every night, you ain't going to get it in the boot of this.
Are we driving in a sport mode or a normal mode at the moment?
We are in normal drive mode at the moment, but we've got it's switched into what they call dynamic mode, which has tightened up the suspension, gives you a slightly harder ride, but better to drive. If I flick it across into sport, obviously then you can probably hear that it's do a bit of accelerating, and you can hear it's. One second, we're going to get stopped for speeding or something. So it's it completely changed the gearbox now. It's tightened the suspension even further. It's tightened the steering, and I don't drive it all the time in this because this is particularly for passengers much the hardest ride.
Yep.
Whereas going back into drive but leaving the dynamic mode on is, I think, the right balance between being in being uncomfortable and having the fun of a tighter car to drive. Windows down.
Yeah, and it's a nice day for having a convertible.
Beautiful day.
The one day that I didn't bring my sunglasses.
Yeah, they're auto on mine.
Go for it.